Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to Cinema Chazzy, the segment on this channel where I review the many movies that I watch, whether they're old or new or modern or classic. I'm pretty sure some of those words are synonyms, but I still say it because this is my intro and I insist on changing it because I'm a stubborn little YouTuber, I am. And today I'm going to be reviewing quite possibly one of the heaviest movies I have ever covered on this channel. In case you missed it, I've been playing Battlefield Bad Company, on my channel lately. I'm going to leave a link to the playlist up here, which at this point has only 2 videos, but it's gonna get longer as the uploads come. And in that light there, in that same respect, I wanted to review I don't think it's my very first war movie. I think I've tried to cover one many years ago, back when my editing was crap, and today I'm going to be tackling one of the greatest war movies of all time, which is Saving Private Ryan. This movie here truly is a cinematic masterpiece for many different reasons, and it is to this day one of the most authentic and grisly depictions of combat ever shown on screen. And it was released back in 1998, and surprisingly it was not the highest grossing movie of that year. That actually went to Armageddon, which I really don't understand how, but still. Yeah, and it was directed, of course, by the legendary Steven Spielberg with a score composed by the legendary John Williams. And to make this movie even more authentic, Spielberg actually hired Frank Darabont, who did The Shawshank Redemption, and Scott Frank to perform uncredited rewrites, based on their own research and even interviews with war veterans. So the entire movie felt so grounded and realistic, man. It was insane. Clocking it at 170 minutes, which, if my math doesn't fail me, is almost 3 hours long, right? 180 would be 3 hours, so about 2 hours and 50 minutes long, more or less, Yes, I'm pretty sure that's how it is because I'm a math whiz now. The movie had an initial budget upwards of $70 million, and it went on to gross a staggering $482.3 million at the box office. And it still did not beat Armageddon. I don't understand how, but it was nominated for and won several different awards. It was crazy, all of them deserve it. And I forgot to mention, it stars an ensemble cast, one of them being the legendary Tom Hanks. Everybody is legendary in this movie, man. It's just a great director, a great composer, a great editor, great production crew, great cast all around. Everything just came together to create one of the best films I have ever witnessed in my entire life. I'm a big fan of war movies, in case you guys don't know. And this one here, the thing is that I was only able to watch it once, because it was a bit too graphic for me. I don't do well with violence, I only managed to stomach it once, and it was a while ago, but I'm gonna try to review it the best I can, remembering the details. And I also have a little bit of a cheat sheet here, So it's crazy, man. And unsurprisingly, it influenced many directors after it, because the techniques that were used to film the battle scenes, the editing, everything was looked upon as inspirational, and it gave so many other prominent directors afterwards, a lot of influence. So it's crazy, man. It is credited as inspiring so many directors afterwards, not just for war movies too, action, superhero films, the whole 9 yards. But anyway, before I continue here and talk a little about the very long and conducive plot, let's take a look at a clip here from Saving Private Ryan. Unsurprisingly, the success of this movie helped to renew interest in World War II at the turn of the century, which inspired, many other movies, video games, TV shows, books, all kinds of media that you can imagine, It was crazy, man. And having played quite a few war games myself, over the years, such as Call of Duty and Battlefield, it just kind of fits, And now the plot concerns a group of soldiers who are looking to save, the titular Private Ryan. Maybe that was a little bit too on the nose, huh? They're gonna save Private Ryan. Yes, they're looking for him so they can bring him home because his 3 other brothers were killed, or rather one was killed, one is presumed dead. So there is a sole survivor policy in the war that makes it so the military has to send home the remaining son to spare the family of the loss, Now, it's been a good minute since I saw this movie, and it is long, a lot of details, so I'm going to be reading a lot of the information directly from my little script here, So the movie is set in 1944 in France, during the war, and we actually see the army landing at Omaha Beach, which is one of the most graphic and brutal war scenes ever depicted in film, man. This scene was intense, and it's actually known for having caused PTSD in quite a few war veterans who saw it, you know, but it is still very realistic, very authentic. And then the United States Department of War receives the order that there are 4 Ryan brothers, 3 of which have been killed in action, and also they have to go and rescue the 4th one, or rather, yes, they've all been killed in action. One is presumed, you know, dead. This was inspired by the Neeland brothers in real life, so, you know, they took a few liberties with that here and there. So they are ordered to go. You know, he is in the 101st Airborne Division, so the paratroopers go there, led by John H. Miller, who is played by Tom Hanks. So basically, they are sent there, you know, to go and send him home. However, as they move towards his position, there are a few issues that plague the squadron, right? So because one of them doesn't have any combat experience at all, so he's a little wet behind the ears. So then they go and track him to the town of Neuville-la-Plaine, you know, where one of them is killed by a German sniper. Even though he's trying to protect a little girl, you know, they mourn the loss, but they keep going because this is a war film. So as you can probably expect, it does get hard to stomach a few times. One of the characters dies in a very brutal way. He gets shot like in the abdomen and the chest. Oh, jeez, man. They actually do find a soldier named Ryan, but he's the wrong one, so they have to go somewhere else and track him down properly, all of that. And then we see that while they are resting in a chapel, one of them shows that he actually has, you know, this nervous tic. He can't stop twitching because of his, you know, war trauma. It's really insane. He cannot stop shaking. It's uncontrollable to him. So as it goes on, they start to see masses of wounded and displaced soldiers all over. It really shows how brutal the war is. And you know, one of them even tries to find Ryan's dog tags to confirm that they found him and he was dead, which is obviously frowned upon. So it just keeps going. John Miller is really pissed at the soldiers at this point. So now they are going to find Ryan, who was designated to defend a town of Ramel. But when they get there, he refuses to leave. He doesn't want to go anywhere because he doesn't feel like he is deserving enough to go home more than his fellow soldiers. And he's played by Matt Damon, so, you know, freaking Jason Bourne up in here, right? So they decide to neutralize a German gun nest that they discover, you know. And at one point, you know, even though they are successful, one of them is killed, and they do find a soldier who they decide to spare, you know, because of a war policy, you know. I guess maybe they just don't want him. Like, it feels like the soldiers would argue that killing him is better, but he kind of befriends them, you know. But still, they actually call him Steamboat Willie, you know. They release him, and then there's tensions rising. But then John Miller actually talks about his past, which is very debated among them. They even have bets on what he was before. So apparently he was just, you know, a teacher and a baseball coach when he was a civilian, so it kind of lessens the tension a little bit. But then they just keep moving on. But then when they get to Ramel, the detachment of the soldiers actually finds Ryan and informs them of the mission again, you know. This is actually when he refuses to leave, by the way. I think I mixed up the details here. I talked about something that happened before and after, but still. So then eventually they go on to, you know, the unofficial group that Miller leads now is going to go to what exactly it was? Oh yes, they prepare for a German assault, which is unfortunately largely successful. They do suffer a lot of casualties, you know, all because stupid Private Ryan didn't want to leave his post and go back home. Stupid freaking Matt Damon. Anyway, so a lot of them were killed, you know, and some of them, you know, managed to push back, you know, the German forces, you know. They are able to defeat them when reinforcements arrive, this and that. So it gets really complex, you know, but at the same time, because there's so many things happening, it's hard to keep up at times. But still, they eventually, you know, send Ryan home, you know, and he is now just thinking about the sacrifices made. And we do see before the war starts and afterwards at the end of the movie that he is now old with his family, and he goes to visit the grave of the soldiers, you know, at Normandy Cemetery. And then he just wonders, you know, he remembers Captain Millard's words every single day and always wonders if he was actually able to earn their sacrifices, you know. And that's essentially it. I'm so sorry for butchering so many details and ogging at the script here. It's just, it's been such a long time and so many things happen in that movie, and it's just so violent that I'm just gonna move on now. But before that, I'm going to show you another clip here from it.
We're looking for a Private James Ryan.
I don't know anything about Ryan. I don't care. Finding him so he can go home. If that earns me the right to get back to my wife, well then, That's my mission.
I mean, where's the sense of risking the lives of the 8 of us to save one guy?
One of the things that I found to be the most impressive about Steven Spielberg's involvement in this film is that his own father was a World War II Army veteran, and he saw a lot of things that he shared with his son and also the rest of the family. So growing up, Spielberg had a lot of veterans around the house, you know, coming in to visit. So he crafted the script, you know, the story, essentially the storyboard around his father's memories and recollections, you know, and he always wanted to make a movie about the World War, and when he did, it was essentially a tribute to his father, you know, having grown up around this culture. It was really his bread and butter, and it really just came to fruition on the big screen. And I think that the soldiers were very, very well cast. We have, of course, Tom Hanks, you know, playing U.S. Captain John H. Miller, who suffers from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, but he is still a good guy at heart, you know, pretty much like any character Tom Hanks plays, you know. We also have Edward Burns as Richard Reben, who is a rebellious soldier, you know, but still, all of those soldiers are good-natured, but some of them deal with PTSD a little better or worse than others, right? Then we have Tom Sizemore as Mike Harvath, you know, who is, you know, Miller's longtime friend and his second in command, who does have to make a few hard decisions here and there as well. Then we have Jeremy Davies as Timothy Upham, who is a staff assistant who lacks combat experience, but still, you know, he speaks German and French, so he's essentially the interpreter of the group. Then we have Vin Diesel as Adrian Caparazzo. Maybe you forgot that Vin Diesel was in this, but he was, right? He's really battle hard, but also compassionate. Unfortunately, he gets killed in action, you know, very tough KIA to stomach there. Then we have Adam Goldberg as Stanley Mellish, who was the wisecracking Jewish trooper and also Caparazzo's close friend, who's devastated by his loss, you know. Very well-rounded cast. Then we have Barry Pepper as Daniel Jackson, who is a sniper who is also religious, right? And he's a sniper who follows religion, so when he kills, he regrets it, you know, but still, interesting character arc if you ask me. Then Giovanni Ribisi as Irvin Wade, who is the diligent and caring combat medic, who is the one who dies very painfully, getting shot all over the abdomen and chest, and the bloody scene there was way too realistic for me. I really couldn't stomach it, but jeez. Then, like I said before, Matt Damon as James Francis Ryan, you know, the young soldier from Iowa, and the titular Private Ryan, who they go and save because his brothers were killed in action. Then Dennis Farina as Walter Anderson, who is an officer who tasks Miller with finding Ryan in the first place, no, his battalion, freaking douche. Then Ted Hansen at, no, wait a second. Yes, Ted Danson as Fred Hamill, who is the captain of the Pathfinders, the 101st Pathfinders unit, also a very important role. Then Harv Presnell as George C. Marshall, who is the top U.S. Army general, you know, the guy who orders the mission to recover Ryan in the first place, the one who's above all of them. Then Bryan Cranston as Mac, a young Bryan Cranston was in Saving Private Ryan, right? A freaking, you know, Walter White up in here, you know. He's the staff officer in the War Department. Then we also have David Wall as T.E. Sanders, who is an officer in the same department, you know, as Walter White Heisenberg. Breaking Bad just made me see Bryan Cranston forever as Walter White. I'm sorry. Then we have Nathan Fillion as James Frederick Ryan, who was a soldier who was mistaken for the titular Ryan, right? So he's credited as Minnesota Ryan. You know, it's kind of funny because he like Miller traumatized the poor kid, you know, saying his brothers were killed, man. You know, freaking mistaken identity. Then we have Paul Giamatti, who was in the movie as well, you know, as William Hill, who is a war-weary sergeant, you know, in Louisville. And then we have Ryan Hurst as Mendelsohn, who is a hearing-impaired paratrooper. And then we have Max Martini as Henderson, who is another soldier in Ryan's company. Not company as in he's there with him, but the battalion, the squadron, that's what they called him, you know, just like bad company. I can't deny it. And finally, Leland Orser as D. Woodit, who is a lieutenant from the 99th Troop Carrier Squadron, right? So, yes, God, I can't breathe. It's so much information. You know, every single character was so well played by the actor, man. It was just bonkers, you know. A very male-dominated, you know, fray, you know. I don't think, barely any women that I saw in this movie, you know, but it was still very, very impressive. A remarkable feat, you know, because they had such good chemistry that you really do believe that these guys served in war together. It's almost like Tom Hanks and the other guys actually were real legit war veterans, man, you know. And it was such a perfect combination, you know, Spielberg and Hanks, you know, because of their prior success, you know, as an actor and director. So it was great to see that, you know, that duo come together and create this cinematic masterpiece. And before I talk a little bit more about, you know, some of the production and post-release and this and that, let's take a look at another clip here from Saving Private Ryan.
Just know that every man I kill, the farther away from home I feel.
it should come as no earth-shattering news to you that it's really hard to construct a war movie, you know, even if it's Spielberg behind the helm, you know, and not even he anticipated the success that it would have, you know. He thought that maybe he made it a little bit too tough and violent and that word of mouth would spread quickly after the first 25 minutes, you know, but the movie just built on that, man. That opening scene in Omaha Beach was actually one of the most, if not the most demanding to shoot, because just that opening scene alone, the first 15 minutes or so of the movie cost $12 million to shoot over a period of 4 weeks with 1,500 extras. That was insane, man. And of course, you know, historical inaccuracies here and there. There were some war veterans who saw the scene and they thought, well, I mean, it's intense, but at the same time, Omaha Beach was you know, miles long. It was miles and miles, you know, of beachfront war happening. So something that was happening on one end of the beach was not happening on the other end. So what we saw in the movie, the Omaha landing, you know, was just one part of that entire battle series there. The thing is that the war veterans who saw the movie, there was a mixed response by them because sure, there were a few things that weren't very accurate, you know, that Spielberg took liberties with, you know, just for the sake of crafting a better story, you know, but it still brought back so many memories, and there were veterans who said that that was the most realistic depiction of their own experiences. Some of them actually watched it and stomached it, and others had to walk out of the theater because they just couldn't relive that again, you know. A lot of them dealt with psychological issues after the war, which is obviously very understandable. But honestly, despite a few historical inaccuracies here and there, which I don't want to get into because, you know, it's just gonna bog this video down, this was still a very, very intense onslaught, man, you know. And like if you look at photos, actual photos on Google of the Omaha Beach landings, you know, compared to the movie, my God, man. You know, like there were scenes where soldiers were being shot underwater, for example. That obviously didn't happen, you know, but it was still very intense. Like, it's really interesting, you know, to get veterans to come in and actually give their input about the scenes. You know, I thought it was really awesome. Now, the movie itself had a lot of, you know, it started to renew the interest in the war in the 21st century, and America was kind of obsessed with patriotism back then, so they depicted a lot of that, you know, the heroic American heroism, you know, and how they tried to make themselves look good in the war, you know. So it was actually a very good depiction, but of course, you know, it's America making a movie about America in the war, so you already know what to expect. But I actually thought it was nice. There was a very huge cultural impact, and the movie, of course, got better with time, you know. It's the kind of thing that it was very successful in the late 90s, but like it seems like it just doesn't get old, you know. It seems to age better with time, just like wine, right? So there are movies that age like milk, and there are some that age like wine, you know. Full Metal Jacket, for example, does not hold up too well today, you know, but still, America was making a lot of movies, you know, like The Thin Red Line also, and this other TV miniseries that I forgot what it was, but still, they were really capitalizing on the war efforts. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's really hard to talk about this movie and not get into too much detail, but me personally, I thought the set pieces were awesome, and it was actually filmed on location in England and Ireland, you know, so to me, everything seemed very grounded and authentic and realistic. It was, I do believe it is still the best war movie I have ever seen in my life, you know. It used to be Fury, then American Sniper, you know, then maybe you could argue Black Hawk Down. My list used to oscillate a lot, but I would actually say that Saving Private Ryan is my personal favorite war movie ever. Not necessarily the best. You could argue maybe Apocalypse Now takes that, but my personal favorite would probably be Saving Private Ryan, you know. Everything, man. You know, the set designs and the characters, the way the actors portrayed them, the score, the editing, the cinematography, everything was just upscaled to a T. Everything was 100%. I could not find one single flaw in the movie except for the runtime. It was a bit too long, but then again, it is war. You know, maybe it's to show how painful it is to get through it. I've been following the same line of thought playing Battlefield Bad Company on my channel. The videos are pretty long, but hey, it's war. It's supposed to be long and arduous, so that's what I'm following here. You know, what else can I say? You know, accurate depictions of war, realistic, you know, the graphic nature of it all, which kind of even made me queasy a little bit. Very good, amazing, stellar, and absolutely, utterly flawless. So my rating for Saving Private Ryan would ultimately be a 10 out of 10 across the board for everything. 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, you know, this and that, whatever you want to give it, you know, just too intense. And I expected this video to get a little bit longer, you know. I was gonna talk about a few more details, but I think I'm going to try to keep it around the 20-minute mark, as all of my reviews are. But yeah, man, if you have somehow never seen Saving Private Ryan, dude, you know, you really are missing out. You really are missing out, man, you know. Even though there were some other, you know, fictional you know, details here and there, like there were some tactical errors that were made by the soldiers and the characters just for the sake of dramatic effect, you know, some of the dialogue, the methods used to locate Private Ryan, but still it didn't ultimately affect the final movie, you know. So, and also there was something else that I was gonna say, but still, America being America. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought about this movie, if you've ever watched it, and if you haven't, you've given yourself a bunch of spoilers. But then again, it's World War II. We all know what happens, and we know that Saving Private Ryan, we know that the character Private Ryan is gonna be saved because it's literally in the title, but still, a lot of casualties to get there. And if you guys happen to like this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and also subscribe to my channel because I release videos every single day. And while you're at it, hit the notification bell too so you can know exactly what time I upload. And it's all good. It's all good. Today's Friday. Hopefully I can get the video edited, exported, and uploaded by before the day ends. This is Chazzy signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Roll the final clip if there is one, and then the outro screen.
It doesn't make any sense, sir. Why? Why me? Why do I deserve to go? Why not any of these guys? They all fought just as hard as me. I have my orders too, sir. They don't include me abandoning my post.